Brother, thank you so much for that insight and professional input regarding how the IEP, the charter schools, and the public school system is directly impacting the progression of our people. There's another conversation piece that keeps coming up. It's was spoke about in the Trump election, and it's actually his voice is getting louder and louder with this election, if that's what you want to call it, because we can't have sleepy time Biden come back, people. I'm sorry. Um, Pan-Africanism versus this FBA movement. What are your thoughts on that? Because there seems to be a growing separation of the two. FBA are waving a banner. They're advocating for exclusivity to reparations, and the Pan-Africanism movement is geared more towards wholeness of all of us that are descendants of the African diaspora. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I wouldn't conceptualize it as Pan-Africanism versus ADOS or Pan-Africanism.
No, I don't think it's
versus FBA, because we are a very comprehensive system of African liberation. Those initiatives are not. So it's not us versus them, because they're not on the level of what Pan-Africanism is or has done for African people. The bottom line is, in those organizations, they tend to weaponize African-American identity and its attachment to white folks against Africans who immigrate from other parts of the diaspora. And the issue I take with that is, why are you demonizing African immigrants who are only 3% of the American African population? But you ain't demonized the Latinos who have very much benefited and profited from our struggle. You haven't demonized LGBTQ who have very much benefited and helped themselves from our struggle. You haven't demonized white women who were the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action and other civil rights programs. To me, it is a coward move to take the lowest man on a totem pole and say he's the one keeping us from getting what we're entitled to, or they're the ones siphoning off of what we have built or what we have, when the main people who have expropriated African-American gains for their self-interest have been non-African immigrants, Latinos, white women, homosexuals. They never talk about them at all. You see, so my thing is, as a Pan-Africanist, we believe in the unity of all African people. And to separate yourself away from our African immigrant brothers and sisters so you don't have to share any of your resources from your reparations package is selfish, ridiculous, and unnecessary. We approach the issues that affect our people from a global perspective. We need Africa. Africa needs us. The entire diaspora is interconnected and interdependent. We need each other. Yes, there's Africans who don't like African Americans. There's African Americans who don't like Caribbean Africans. There's Caribbean Africans who don't like British Africans. There's Canadian Africans who don't like Brazilian Africans. Yes, we have bigotry within the African race, but I'm bigger than that. And the Pan-African movement is bigger than that. And we understand that united we stand, divided we fall. To simply answer your question, you don't have to demonize African immigrants, and you don't have to weaponize your American African identity in order to protect your share of reparations. It's an unnecessary evil that was added to the pot that is undoing the relationship between Africans in the diaspora that many of us has been working towards for the greater part of our lives. And I would dare suggest, I don't think it's true, but it's possible, it at least has to be considered, whether or not these movements are being financed by anti-African interests. Because these organizations really take off when? Around 2019, which is the year of return, when African governments was reaching their hands out to Africans in the diaspora saying, come home and be with us. I was in Ghana for the year of return celebration in 2019. So you mean to tell me it's just a coincidence that at a time when Pan-Africanism is at its height, These anti-African immigrant groups come from out of nowhere and start attacking and demonizing and criticizing and belittling African immigrants at the very time that the Pan-African movement is beginning to take off again. I wouldn't be surprised if I read a COINTELPRO paper 10 years from now that say that this was financed by the FBI. I'm not saying it is, because I think they would have chose better people to lead these movements if it was a government-financed thing. But I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to rule out the potential that there's some government involvement in these anti-Pan-African movements. Because let us be clear, the United States government has already spoken. It's been spoken of several times in national security study memorandums that the unification of American Africans and continental Africans is the greatest threat to American foreign interests. This comes from the State Department. The State Department said the only threat to what we trying to do to this world, which is basically dominated, is the interconnected political economic unity of American Africans and African Americans. Not Christianity, not Islam, not this, not that. Pan-Africanism is the only threat America has identified as being a risk to its global agenda.
Is that even a possibility that we could connect back with each other in that manner?
Why not?
For one, I have some African friends that close friends with me. Like, I have, shout out to all my brothers in the city that we like slept together like brothers. And they expressed a lot of deep stuff to me, and they only trusted me because I'm West Indian. They definitely believe and taught in their culture, if you're American Black, that you are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I was even accepted is because, my West Indian background. So I'm wondering, again, how do we, with that bridge, how do we even, if they don't even trust us, how do we?
We have to make sure we don't overgeneralize. As I said earlier, there's bigotry in every African population in the world, everywhere. There's nowhere you're going to go and not find some Black people who ain't got an issue with some Black people from somewhere else. But guess what? White people go through the same thing. Jews think they're better than Italians. Italians think they better than the French. French think they're better than the Irish. Let's go to the Asians. Chinese think they're better than Koreans. Koreans think they're better than Vietnamese. Japanese think they're better than the rest of them. So you have that in every race. So we don't have to be a utopia. The question is, can there be operational unity? And I believe that there can be, because as someone who's traveled every continent except Australia, where I'll be in the spring, there are genuine Pan-Africanists in Africa who want that unity. There are genuine Pan-Africanists in Jamaica who want that unity. There are genuine Pan-Africanists in Canada and France and London and in South America who want that unity. The issue is those of us who want it got to come together. That's all it is. Let's be honest. The white man is doing everything he can to keep us apart. Do you know that I've been told by Africans that when they come here, they're told by immigration not to mix with us. They're told. And another thing I think that we often discount, the African immigrants, and I'm not saying anything bad against my African immigrant brothers and sisters. The Africans you meet in America are a certain kind of an African. They're the ones that the country felt comfortable enough with to let them over here. They're not letting the Pan-African revolutionaries over here. You understand me? They let that 3% that we got, it's a certain kind. The radicals don't get here. I got friends in Africa who've been trying to get a visa for 30 years to visit me in America. Won't let them out the country. You know why? Because they real. You see what I'm saying? In a lot of African countries, you got to play the lottery to get a visa. You got to win the lottery to get a visa. Whether you can afford it or not, they don't even care. They're only letting a few of you out because they don't want the unity amongst the revolutionary Pan-Africanists. So we're judging an entire continent of nearly 1 billion people by a couple million African immigrants who happen to dance to the tune that America wants them to. We got to be careful with that. And so many brothers and sisters who take issue with the Pan-African program and who actually espouse the viewpoint that you just argued, they never been to the continent. You got people saying Africa don't want us. You never been there. You see, so my thing is we got to broaden our horizons. And at the end of the discussion, what this really is about, It's about American Africans who believe they have a future with the white man that offers more promise than a future with the black man elsewhere. That's the bottom line here. All these people you're talking about, these FBAs and ADOS, they believe they have a greater chance of working with this racist white man in America to achieve their ends than collaborating with their brothers and sisters around the globe. And I can tell them right now, history will prove them wrong. The only salvation for African people is with African people. The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, a strong man is strong everywhere. I've seen it. When I travel, Jews are respected everywhere I've been. Arabs are respected everywhere I've been. Anglo-Saxons respected everywhere I've been. East Indians everywhere I've been. Guess who's disrespected everywhere I've been? Even in Africa, we are. Nobody respects us. They pay us no attention because we have no power. And power comes through organization. In order to build political and economic strength, we got to be organized. We are not where we are because we're black. We're where we are because we choose not to get organized because we're black. Why the Chinese running the world right now? The Chinese are the most organized people. When Mao Zedong started the Chinese Revolution, do you know what he did? He sent his students around the world to study what everybody else was doing. Not to compete, but to imitate. Mao said, we're not going to compete with the one who make the gun. We're not going to compete with the one who do the laptop. We're not going to compete with the one who make the airplane. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to make a bootleg version. We're going to make the imitation version. We're not going to compete with you. We're just going to take what you make and sell it at a cheaper price. And that's why China runs the world. China is the Walmart of the planet Earth. And you know what the wisdom of China? China looked and said, the white man is the king of capitalism. He wants to make all the money, but he sells everything at an expensive price. Most people in the world live on less than $1 a day. So the Chinese said, if most people in the world live on less than $1 a day, you know what we're going to do? We're going to cater to the poor man. So guess who sells all the cheap goods in the world? China. Who needs the cheap goods in the world? The world. So the reason America can't sabotage China is China undersells the white man. What you going to do with them? China is the leading producer of small goods, small arms, cheap food, your dollar store stuff. Guess where it's all coming from? If I live in Africa, I can't afford to live like y'all live in America. If I'm living in South Asia, I can't afford to live like y'all live in America. I wouldn't even want to hear nothing Joe Biden got to say. Bring me China, because China, I can afford what China's selling. I can't afford what America's selling. And then Mao Zedong made his Chinese children never thirst to imitate another people. That was the purpose of the Chinese Revolution. You do not want to be white, you are Chinese. And then he copied Marcus Garvey. He copied what Garvey did in Harlem. The Harlem Renaissance, which was largely influenced by Marcus Garvey, they had a Chinese Renaissance, Chinese Revolution. They wrote Chinese books, Chinese artwork. Chinese people wasn't trying to be Chinese. They were trying to imitate Russians and Americans. Mao Zedong said, we're going to love who we are. And for 20 years, there was nothing done in China that wasn't positive and affirmative to the Chinese people. Look where they at now. Now in China, they'll call Mao Zedong all kind of names. And don't get me wrong, he wasn't no saint. But guess what? They don't get where they are without him. And guess what he used to do it? Garveyism.
That's a Marcus Garvey. When we talk about the progression of our people, our community, across globally, the family is the foundation of that.
Yes, ma'am.
When I look at some of the statistics, I cannot deny the parallels.
Mm-hmm.
So the Department of Justice says 1 in 4 of our brothers will have contact with the criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. And the census says only 1 in 4 of our sisters will experience marriage. What do you think the commonality is between those two statistics?
One of the things that we often leave out when we talk about black on black love, and for the record, I only support black on black love. I do not believe in colorblind love. Okay, we need to love ourselves first. We leave out the role of economics. Most black households had 2 parents until the 1970s. Overwhelmingly, there was a mom and a dad present, whether they were legally married to the white man's State Department is irrelevant to me because I don't think you got to marry the state in order to be a married couple, right? But they were married. There was a husband and a wife in there, or a mother, father together. You don't begin to see the decline of that and the rise of the single mother until the 1970s. And do you know why? After they assassinated Dr. King in 68, and after they assassinated Fred Hampton in 69, and after they assassinated Soledad brother George Jackson in 1971, they said, we ain't gonna have no more black revolutions. And the government said, what can we do to stop another black revolution? They said, you know, most of them was financed by black people. Small businesses, small black businesses financed the Black Power movement, financed the Black Panthers, financed Stokely, financed H. Rap Brown, financed the sit-ins, the Freedom Rides, and all of that. So you know what we got to do to break the back of the Black Power movement? Break the black dollar. If you break the black dollar, there will be no black power. And they came into all the major black communities and they systemically removed all the industrial building trade programs from our high schools. Remember, in the 60s, our grandfathers was taught how to be welders, plumbers, carpenters, masons, auto mechanics. They didn't go to college. And they lived better lives than we live, you see.
They were homeowners.
Absolutely. With skills that pay the bills. Back then, they taught the skills that pay the bills. 1970s, they would never teach the skills that pay the bills on a mass scale anymore. They took them out. And not only did they take out the industrial building trades from the high schools, they took all the factory jobs out the inner city. Newark, New Jersey, that was a factory center. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was a factory center. Chicago, that was industrial. Detroit, Milwaukee, those were Gary, Indiana. Go look at Gary, Indiana now. They stripped it of the economic foundation, which was the industrial building trades and the industrial factory jobs. And then in 1980, they dropped the crack off and dropped the AIDS off. 1990, Bill Clinton's crime bill. Year 2000, George W. Bush's faith-based initiative where they start financing black religion to stay out of the freedom struggle. That's why the black church been missing in action since the year 2000. 23 years, you can't find them when it comes to our biggest problems because they've been financed to stay out of it. So getting back to your question, what black man you know is going to be in a rush to get married to a woman he can't take care of? If we not talking jobs, we can't talk families. If we talking jobs, we can't talk, unless we talking jobs, we can't talk families, especially now, because we've raised our children for the past 23 years on what? A steady diet of European materialism, conspicuous consumption. They need Nike. They need Balenciaga. They need Gucci, Louis Vuitton. What am I going to do as a broke black man approaching a 40-year-old sister? I want to be your king. I want you to be my queen. I want us to make babies. And she looking at me like, where the job at? I'm doing some vending. I'm doing some hustling. I ain't got nothing. You think she going to let me put that ring on that finger? Until we build up black men economically, we will never build back up the black family. What is the number one job of a man? To protect and provide. We can protect, but we ain't able to provide. And now America, this entire time they was destroying black men, what was they doing with black women? Educating and employing. Do you know black women are the only women in America who out-earn and out-educate their mates? We're the only one. Our women have more degrees than us and make more money than us. But let me clarify with you, Queen. That's not a problem by itself. Just because my wife make more money than me, that ain't no problem. You know why it becomes a problem? When people ask her why. It's the interpretation of the difference. When they ask the black woman, why you make more money than your husband? Because he lazy. He's shiftless. He irresponsible. He don't want nothing out of life. See that? It's the reasons why. And then when they ask the black man, why your woman make more money than you? Because she masculine. She want to dominate me. She don't want no black man telling her nothing. She working with the white man against the black man. It's not the fact that sisters make more money. It's the reasons why she believes she does, and it's the reasons why we believe she does. And guess what? Both of the reasons come from white folks. We are taking what white people taught us about each other, and we're using it against each other. The new war against black man is against the black family. We're going to stop the love. That's what they, look at it. Look at your commercials. All the commercials, what you see? Black man, white woman.
Or
black woman.
Ambiguous.
Right, or racially ambiguous. But let me ask you a question. White people not in love with black folks. Police killing us every day. So why y'all got our kids thinking white people in a rush to marry black folks? Because they want to brainwash the children out of black love. If you notice, our children are being brainwashed into believing that you can only love someone of the same gender or someone of another race. You don't see no black on black. What happened to the Jeffersons? What happened to the Cosby Show? What happened to Good Times? What happened to all them shows where you had black on black love? You don't see it. Blackish, you got black on black love. But of course, the wife is mixed race and there's nothing against, Diana Ross's daughter. But my point is, it ain't the same black on black skin love you saw in the 70s TV shows. This is for the children, it's not for us. They want to brainwash black kids against wanting a spouse of the same race. So if we're not teaching our kids about black love, there will be no black love. And guess what's helping this? Colorblind black folks. I have black mothers tell me, I can't tell my son to only marry a black woman. Excuse me? I've had black mothers tell me I cannot tell my son to only marry a black woman because of their beliefs. Do you hear what I'm telling you? I can't do that because I believe in this and my religion don't allow me to do this. This is what they tell me. So I said, why are you complaining about not being able to find a good black man? How are you going to say you can't find a good black man, but you can't tell your son to marry a black woman? We losing ourselves. And guess what? These white women, they on a mission. They on a mission. They are either there to bankrupt you or incarcerate you. Look what happened over the past week. Puffy got hit with another lawsuit. Marcellus Wiley hit with a lawsuit. Bill Cosby hit with a lawsuit. Jamie Foxx hit with a lawsuit. Now, not every accuser is white, but overwhelmingly they are. And you see the old crusty snow bunny that's after Bill Cosby? Guess when he allegedly violated her? 1972. I wasn't even born yet.
I think fornication destroys black love. I'm always, I know you're going to
I don't disagree. No, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. But we still have to look at the entrapment that is being done by the white power structure in order to take back the resources of black men so they're not available for the community, right? Even if you look at Kobe Bryant, who was murdered because he was going to start his own sneaker brand to compete with Nike in his own professional basketball league to compete with the NBA. Kobe Bryant was murdered.
It wasn't a plane crash?
It was a murder through the plane crash.
Okay, I want to
through the plane. Yeah.
School me. I don't
remember. Whenever you study assassination, you gotta look at the timing.
Mm-hmm.
What was Kobe about to do the week that he was assassinated?
I had no idea.
He was going to choose the first edition of the new Kobe sneaker. So he had his own sneaker label,
and that was enough to kill him.
Nike is the #1 tennis shoe company in the world. Kobe Bryant is second only to Michael Jordan in terms of stature.
So Kobe was going to come out with his own.
Yes, that was going to be owned by the players. The players were going to own their sneakers.
So how come his death stopped that? Why when his wife took over?
Because his wife wasn't thinking about that. She ain't black. She ain't going to go on with that, which is the point that I'm making. It died with Kobe. And then he was going to start a professional basketball league that was going to be headquartered in China, America's nemesis.
What proof we have of that?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I've spoken with people who know him. And if you do your research online, there's enough people talking about it.
That he was really assassinated.
Yes. There is no official word that it was an assassination.
Mm-hmm.
There's no official word that Whitney Houston was assassination. Is there anybody
who was assassinated too?
Right.
Bro, I want to. You got the goods? Tell me the goods. I don't know. I watch the news like anyone else. You got the goods? Give me the goods. Okay. I hear it.
Whitney Houston was assassinated because
I thought she was on drugs and slipped in the water.
A lot of people on drugs.
So, yeah. But I thought she was on drugs and slipped in the water.
Did you hear what the coroner said about the water?
No.
Was the water hot or cold? Does anybody, no. It was hot. I can't remember if it was hot or cold, but the coroner said the temperature of the water, I think it was hot. The coroner said the temperature of the water was so hot, nobody could forcibly keep themselves submerged in it. So how did Whitney Houston drown if the coroner said nobody could have forcibly kept themselves in water submerged that hot? Not only that, her cousin said they found almost no traces of drugs in her blood when they blamed it on drugs. Whitney Houston was murdered because she was going to order an audit on all of her royalties.
On the big record executive.
Absolutely. And she was going to demand her masters back.
On the big record.
And she wanted her publishing. Just like Mike. They killed Mike. Michael Jackson owned half of Sony. Michael Jackson owned half of Sony Records.
So they killed Mike.
You damn right. They sabotaged his
They
invention.
killed Prince too?
Yes.
They killed Prince. So you telling me? So wait, this is good stuff. Hey, look, I watched. I turn on the news and this what I hear. So you got the goods. Tell me. So like.
When Prince supposedly overdosed, they did a quick what they do?
Autopsy.
So Prince wasn't on drugs too and did some.
Prince was cremated. He ain't got a gravesite.
I don't think so.
I didn't know
so
that.
He didn't
I didn't know that.
So he wasn't on fentanyl or died.
I didn't know they cremated Tupac. I didn't know
fentanyl?
that. I didn't know. Yeah. Remember, Warner Brothers wanted Prince's unpublished music. He didn't want to give it to him. So they tricked him. They tricked him and said, let us do the 25th or 30th anniversary of Purple Rain. They said, if you let us remaster Purple Rain, we're going to give you all your publishing.
Right.
Excuse me, masters. Prince wanted his masters. They gave him his masters back. He was dead within a year.
So if you privy to all of this, I got to know this. Yeah, Dr. Sebi, they killed too?
And I believe Lisa Left Eye Lopez.
Too?
I believe Lisa Left Eye Lopez was also killed because she was going to finance Dr. Sebi's products to go worldwide. Yeah.
All of these people were murdered, assassinated.
Man,
brother, this is white supremacy.
They just admitted in 1999, this is a fact, the government settled a lawsuit with the King family for being part of the assassination of Dr. King in 1999.
They proved in court
They proved it.
that it was the FBI who killed him, not James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray was a fall guy.
Yeah, he was the patsy.
Also
all right.
have to bear in mind, this is the government that convinced the nation a magic bullet.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So let me figure this out. Because since he privy to it, I got to know this one.
Go ahead.
Who killed Biggie and Pop?
Pac was killed. I believe Pac's murder was a collaboration, like Malcolm's. So it was largely LAPD, right? Mm-hmm. And there were undercover FBI agents in the LAPD. And David Kenner, the president of Death Row, was an FBI informant. You feel me? The FBI needed Tupac dead because he had too many plans to politicize the gangs in LA and across the country. Remember, him and Tupac just started an organization called Us First. That's why he was at the Tyson fight to support him over that. Mm-hmm. That was supposed to be like a race first thing for black youth. They couldn't afford that. You got to remember, the government, remember what the Black Panther Party did to this country, almost brought it to its knees. Black liberation almost brought it to its knees. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Tupac, the #1 selling rapper, the most popular rapper, is also a Black Panther revolutionary. Can't have that. He got to die. So they used death row. You see what I'm saying? Just like the FBI used the Nation of Islam for Malcolm. You see, so you're looking at LAPD, you're looking at FBI, and you're looking at people within death row.
And Biggie?
I don't necessarily believe that Biggie's murder may have had political implications, but I do know this. We all know this. Puffy and Big was under surveillance at the time of their murder. Right. You know what that means? The FBI know who shot you. And there was a reason they wanted Biggie dead. I'm not sure what that is.
Was Eazy-E assassinated too?
I believe he was. Yeah. I believe he was, because when you listen to the people who was around Eazy, like Bone Thugs, they said he had good strength, good energy. They said so when he found out he got AIDS, he was dead in like a month. I know people who died of AIDS. They don't die in a month.
30, 40 years.
They kill Eazy. Yeah. They kill Eazy. I think when Eazy went to the White House and met with the president, I think something was up with that. I believe he was injected with AIDS, if he died of AIDS at all. They might have killed him with something else and called it AIDS. Mm-hmm. They might have killed him. They might have did it with something else and called it AIDS.
Look at Freeway Willie Watson on Compton, how they dropped the drugs, the crack.
Yeah.
Of the finance of Iran-Contra war.
Absolutely.
And I got
and still selling the crack to finance their undercover project.
Now, all right, so
and you also got to remember something. At the time Eazy died, Eazy was about to bring NWA back together again. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who couldn't afford for Dre to go back to Eazy.
Now,
you feel me on that?
So
you feel me on that? I believe Eazy was murdered to keep Dre over there with Jimmy Iovine and them.
That sounds correct, because they was meeting up.
Yeah.
Now, are these the same people, this entity? And who is this entity? You say just a white man? Just a white man?
You got the music industry cartel. You got the Hollywood cartel. But let's zero out. Mm-hmm. There's an organization called the Bilderbergers.
The Bilderberg.
You heard of them?
Of course, I studied.
AKA the Council of 300, right? So guess what? The CEO of Sony sits at that table. You see what I'm saying? The CEO of Universal sits at that table, right? All your major Hollywood houses have a CEO at that table. All your major media, Time Magazine, News.
Barack Obama.
Absolutely. So when you talk about these political assassinations, these things are voted on
So
and
Barack
decided.
Obama is a part of them?
No, Barack is not a Bilderberg.
But he
not yet. But he carries out the agenda of the Bilderberg
group.
Wait, let me take that back.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take that back. Let me tell you why I'm gonna take that back. Let me tell you what I just remembered. Before Obama got elected the first time, it was announced on national TV.
By the Bilderberg.
Him and Hillary had to go meet with the Bilderbergers.
Yes.
But that don't mean he's a Bilderberger.
No.
It just means he sat at the table.
All right, so I don't know if you know.
Because
Krishna?
Bill Gates is a Bilderberger.
Krishna?
What, the Christ of the Indian?
No, what's his name? I might be saying his name wrong. He's a part of one of the major dudes in the Bilderberg group.
Okay.
Before Obama was president, he was his secretary.
You may be talking about
Kissinger.
Okay.
He was Kissinger.
Right, Secretary of State Kissinger.
Yeah.
But there was somebody else who was a Bilderberger who was even more prominent than Kissinger, and that's Zbigniew Brzezinski, who created the Trilateral Commission for the Rockefellers. He was the one who announced Obama would be president before Obama ran.
And so did Kissinger.
Yeah.
Before I knew anything about Obama, I saw Kissinger
Kissinger is a Rockefeller.
That this guy Obama is going to be a good president one day and everything. And I'm looking. And that was years before Obama became president.
Yes, and Kissinger is the one who wrote the National Security Study Memorandum 2000 that everybody needs to read.
So
it came out in 1974. You must read it. This was the document that said we need to start reducing the population of black people in the world. It's on the internet. You can read it.
All right. So
because remember, he was Secretary of State. He put it out. And then when Jimmy Carter became president, he came out with Global 2000. So this was 74 and then like 81. And this is the first time that a modern government studied population growth and decided to do something about reducing it. Out of this came birth control, the IUD, the intrauterine device. And did you know that the Rockefellers, the Ford Foundation, they own a lot of your birth contraceptive devices? Yes.
All right. So they the ones that
they engineered the LGBT campaign.
I believe that.
Yes.
And they also the ones that destroyed the positive rap that was in the 80s, like X-Clan, Public Enemy, and
they had to go
like
gangster
that.
In order to fill up the prisons.
So let me
right at the time of private prison industry was taken off, they had to go gangster.
So let me ask you this: with the Bilderberg group and
the gangster rap also helped to push the agenda to criminalize the young black male. Because remember, in the 1960s, during civil rights, we were seen as victims. In the 1970s, during the Black Panthers and the Black Liberation Army, we were seen as victims. We were oppressed. 1980s is the first time we go from victim to criminal. And that's why they needed the gangster rap to pick up the gangster image to help paint that narrative that black people ain't nothing but a bunch of criminals, and we bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and ain't stopped yet.
So again, the group that is not necessarily...
Bilderberger is the strongest secret society. There's multiple though. You still got Skull and Bones, right?
Skull and Bones,
you still got the Bilderbergs, Skull and Bones. You got the Order of Rome. You got the Knights of Templar. You got the Masons. You got about 50 different cells of white supremacy. The Bilderbergs, in my opinion, are the number one right now.
All right, so...
You don't make a major decision without
when you study these groups, and I guess you would know too, and you would know, do they have they have secret ceremonies?
Yes,
and
they have rituals.
Stuff like that.
Many of them have some, not all of them, but many of them have an angle into demonology. So, one of the reasons why our children are being so sexually trafficked. And by the way, who's the number one commodity on the underground sex trafficking ring? A black girl aged 12 to 17. More than the white women. They don't want Kim Kardashian. You feel me? They want black girls 12 to 17. And the reason why they're trying to legalize pedophilia is because these secret societies often use children in their rituals, sodomy and execution. And some of them drink the brain fluid. In other words, the vampire metaphor is a very real metaphor. They believe that by sodomizing virgin children, they live longer. They also believe by drinking the brain fluid of virgin children, they live longer. So the reason why they're trying to normalize pedophilia is because rich, white, powerful men can't afford to be getting implicated and arrested because they'll end up like Epstein. The reason they had to execute Epstein, did you hear what Epstein said? He said, I'm not going down by myself. When Epstein said, I'm not going down by myself, they had to kill him because Bill Gates was on that plane. Donald Trump was on that plane. The Obamas was on that plane. And I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands. You know what's going on right now? They're investigating all the black people who Epstein paid to cover up. Because what they did was they flew the children into St. Thomas, right? And then they would get on a private plane and go to the Epstein Island. So customs had to be aware of all these children coming in. And they were black people, some blacks, not all, who helped put them kids on another plane to go to the Epstein Island. So now they're trying to lynch all of them too. But getting to my point, the reason why child sex trafficking is as big as it is because these secret societies need fresh bodies for their rituals.
And so with that being said, what is so interesting to me is that when I hear these rituals and I hear these ceremonies and I hear it's no way for me to ignore that they're being controlled by an outside entity. That
I agree. See, when you brought up Satan, okay, I practice Yoruba spirituality out of Nigeria.
You might have a different name for it.
No, but stay with me. We don't believe in a supreme evil being as Satan. But there is negative energy and there is negative forces. We would decentralize your concept of Satan just to make it simple. But the point that I'm making is this. We do need a spiritual foundation because our enemy is using his. Do you follow what I'm saying? The white man is not all money and bombs. The white man is very much about tapping into evil energy.
That's exactly what I was saying.
No, I get that. But my comeback for that was the very institutions that's supposed to fight evil also have these rituals too. Look at the Roman Catholic Church. And all the children, they've been ritualized through sex.
We don't stand with them, though. We can't. And we can't.
I agree with you, but hear me out.
We can't confuse the good people.
I agree with you, but here's where I'm going to hold y'all accountable.
Because we do have Christian
brothers. I agree with you.
That follow that
I agree with you.
And actually have nothing to do with the Roman Church.
I agree with you.
And follow those scriptures.
I agree with you, but here's where we would mildly disagree.
Yes.
And I'm going to draw a parallel with the hip-hop community.
Yes.
Let me draw my parallel and I'm going to come back. Maybe it'll help it make sense.
Yeah.
When I talk about how gangster rap is destroying the minds of our young people, a lot of the hip-hop artists will say, well, that's not hip-hop. You can't allow gangster rap to be hip-hop at the hip-hop awards. And you can't allow gangster rap to be hip-hop at the hip-hop celebration. And you can't allow gangster rap to be hip-hop any other time. But the minute I say the music is negatively influencing our children, now all of a sudden you want to disassociate it from hip-hop. You see that? That's a cop-out. Because what it says is you don't want to take accountability for the evil done in the name of your institution. Rather than hold it accountable and check it, you just want to redefine it out of existence so you don't have to confront it. So my issue with brothers and sisters in the Christ faith is when y'all see evil, not you, but systemically, when y'all see evil done in the name of the church, rather than confront it and deal with it, which you might stay with me, but generally they don't do that. You know what they'll do? That's not Christian behavior. You see that? So you never go and deal with it. You never go and confront the molestation. You just say that's outside the definition of what a real Christian is. But any other time, you include that church as a church. Any other time, they included as Christians. Any other time, they welcomed into the, you see what I'm saying? So my thing is we got to stop, I feel you, but we got to stop redefining misbehavior out of the scope of our institutions because we ain't got the courage to hold somebody accountable. You feel where I'm coming from? We got to stop doing that. It's like if I find out my son is stealing or beating on somebody's daughter and somebody come and tell me that, I'm supposed to go check my son. I can't say, well, he ain't been living at home for 20 years and, you know, I didn't raise my kids to do. That ain't the point. Your son beat on his daughter. Go do something about it. Them gangster rappers is influencing our children. And y'all consider them hip hop any other time. Go deal with it. Them Christians is over there molesting kids. Don't tell me that's not Christian behavior. Go check them in the name of the
All right.
church.
On this
But
side.
do you see what I'm saying?
I totally get it.
Okay.
And I want to
Okay. Yes, sir.
add to that point. So, what do you have to say to someone say that is not hip hop? That's rap music.
Okay.
And rap music and hip hop is not the same thing.
Okay.
And it's
Then
only
change
to
the name
those
of the BET
that
Awards.
are listening to
change
it.
the name. Then we got to check. Then we need
But
to see
we don't
some
control that part though.
That ain't true.
It's
We
the
have
listeners
influence.
it's the listeners. I don't control. I don't have no
we have
influence
enough
over BET.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. But collectively, we have enough influence.
Yeah, but
In other words, ostracize it then. Ostracize it. And tell BET if it's gangster rap, it can't be considered for album of the year.
I mean,
Go and tell Billboard if it's gangster rap, it can't be on the Billboard for hip hop.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If we're gonna do it, do it all the way.
Right now, with me and you
I feel
saying
you.
to the world
Yes, sir.
that's not to the world. Hip hop and rap is two different things.
But then I gotta
we
challenge
went
you
down
again, though.
the
You wanna know
wrong
why?
way when we started
I don't think
rapping.
you can separate the two. Let me tell you why.
Okay,
Let me tell you why. You know why you can't separate gangster rap from hip hop? Because if you was to list the top 10 rappers of all time, many of them had very serious, strong gangster rap elements to their music. Is Jay-Z hip hop?
No.
You would say Jay-Z is not hip hop?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. If I would say hip hop,
Okay.
I would say again, hip hop was something a little bit different.
But
You know
when
what I'm
most hip
saying?
hoppers
So-
say Jay-Z is hip hop.
But that's most people, but they don't understand.
But see, when you say they don't understand, I feel you.
Yeah.
But you can't dismiss it like that. There has to be a conference.
Yes,
There has to be dialogue,
starts
discussion,
now.
and votes taken
Yeah, it
on what
starts
is
now.
and what out. Because what you can't have is a million
So
different
could I-
definitions for the same concept.
So can I explain? And I wasn't there.
I feel you.
I know Grandmaster Caz, and
feel
I'm
you.
gonna ask them these questions.
I got you.
And I had interviews with them, and they answered this. When hip hop was started, it was for the inner city boys
Yes, sir.
to get a way
Yes,
out. It
sir.
had nothing to do with
Yes, sir.
music. It was so they wouldn't be with the
Yes, sir.
gangs, so they wouldn't be with the corners.
culture
it
created
was
out of nothing.
And it was a positivity that
Yes, it
was
was.
put in there that was
It was
underscript
creative
for
and progressive.
for your ear.
Yes.
Now, rap music came about when they figured out somewhere that they can do comedy. And that was the first rap music. When they decided, like the Fat Boys and stuff like that, that was not hip hop. That was comedy rap. And when they figured out, oh, we could switch it from this and use comedy rap, gangster rap came right after that, because now you saw it could get manipulated.
I agree with you,
And
but
it
here's
was
my
no
question
longer
to you.
hip hop.
Here's
Now
my question
that's
to you.
rap music.
If that was no longer hip hop and it became rap, separate from what was created, I agree with that. Why was there no movement to clarify that?
KRS-One would be sitting here soon, and I would be asking my brother that I love very much, how did that happen? Because I blame him. You know, he's one of the, he said, when KRS-One said, and KRS-One, you know, you are a part of me. So it's no offense. I'm LL Cool J, Rakim, and KRS-One. So it's no offense to nobody. But when KRS-One said he was the god of hip hop, and he threw PM Don off the stage.
Okay.
How the hell did you allow NWA, you know what I'm saying, and all these other guys to come out in the early 90s with that gangster music and that stuff that you should have knew as the god of hip hop, as who you was going to hurt us. If you thought PM Don was a threat and you had to go to their concert and grab them and throw them off the stage, why didn't you do that with NWA and the rest of these clowns that they wasn't real gangsters? You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like it was that much of a threat. And we already know BDP was strong anyway.
Right.
Why didn't you go stop
even before
they shows?
NWA though, because I don't want to scapegoat the West Coast, because the East Coast
of
also had
course.
its gangster.
I don't.
You
Again,
feel me?
I don't
We
want to
had our
name names.
Coogee raps and we had our gangster
Coogee
thing
rap was
too.
positive though. He gave you the real other side of it.
I understand, but that was still there though. The gangster piece was growing before NWA. The momentum was there for NWA to take it on.
It's not
I don't
about
want
no,
NWA
it's not
to
about
be seen
no
as
name,
the scapegoat.
But they were for me, because I'm that age. I went right from KRS-One and X Clan to a year later fuck the police and
I got
kill
you.
a
I got
bitch
you.
and all of that.
Right,
And
but all I'm saying is the momentum was building on the East Coast with the
Absolutely.
gangster rap, and NWA just jumped on that momentum. And
yeah, I mean,
continued. In other words, they could have checked it before it got out of hand.
Yeah, it should have been
NWA is
checked.
out of hand.
Yeah.
It could have been checked before that.
Yeah.
But that's a contradiction that has to be dealt with. You see?
But that's what I said.
And I'm gonna be honest with you.
When I have
I'm gonna be
Chris
honest
here,
with you.
I will ask
You
him,
wanna- right.
why didn't you? Because I do hold him.
I got you.
When you said you
Well,
was the
and it
god
ain't just about him, though.
of hip hop,
It's the whole
yeah,
community.
but he said he was the god.
Right.
You know, once he put himself in that,
Right, but one man can't make a movement, though. It was all of them
then
who
you
should
should
have
have
come
never
together.
quite said you the god of
And
hip
guess
hop.
what? They could have confronted, but you don't even have to confront. Clarify. Clarify. Y'all gonna call this something different. You can have a press conference. Y'all gonna call this something different. And you know why nobody clarified? I'm gonna tell you why they didn't clarify. One of the reasons, people wanted to get paid.
Yeah, they said.
And if nigga and bitch is going to make the money, I'm not gonna say a word because I want a payday. That's why. At some point, and we may never be able to prove this empirically, but at some point in the history of hip hop, like every other aspect of black culture, when it's about to be capitalized upon by Caucasians, exploited by Caucasians, and colonized by Caucasians, we step back and say, we know this ain't good for the culture. But if this is going to get me paid, I'm
But
not
Chris
going to
never
say
went
nothing.
that way, though.
I'm not saying him.
Yeah.
Remember, we're speaking about the culture.
No, over.
So it's
over
more
and
than
over.
one person.
Yeah. But he was big
I know.
centerpiece.
KRS-One was
Public Enemy. I mean, there was a whole lot of them
Right.
that Public Enemy started doing shows with NWA. You know, like.
What did I just say? If I can get paid, I'm not going to say nothing. Because guess what? Even though you saying nigga, bitch, hoe, I don't agree with it. But guess what? If you performing
Got you.
at the LA Coliseum and I get a chance to open up for you with my positive message, guess what? I'm not saying nothing because you are opening up an opportunity for me. Here's the point that I'm making. Everybody sold out hip hop, even the originators. Do you feel me? I'm not gonna say they all sold it out to the same extent. Everybody sold out hip hop, including the originators, because I think a lot of people paused on the direction because they said this might open up the door for more money. More money, more problems. And it ain't just hip hop. If you look at every aspect of black culture, jazz, soul food,
Yeah. All of that.
black spirituality, African spirituality, we going through a thing through that right now, where the white folks are coming in, trying to become priests, and because they got that moolah. What you doing initiating white folks into this? Didn't they steal enough? You want to give them the secrets about spiritual code? No! But that's the problem with us as African people. Do we stand on culture and principle? Or is it all about the dollar? That is one of the central contradictions. It takes me to Deion Sanders. Everybody knows I was very critical of Deion Sanders, right? Because why would you leave Jackson State, Mississippi, predominantly black city, predominantly black HBCU, and go to a school, this lily-ass white school in Boulder, Colorado, with less than 2% black students, and in a city with less than 1% whites? Why would you do that? It was a takeover. But guess what? If you all about the money, it was the move. But if you about the culture, you stay your ass in Jackson, you build that school up, and you help the HBCU take back all of our Division I high school athletes. Because if Deion Sanders would have started an HBCU revolution, where our top athletes from high school coming back to the HBCU, do you know what that would have did for the revenue? Do you know what kind of stadium Jackson could have built? Do you know how much money we would have had to revitalize all these HBCUs? Deion Sanders was in a position to start an economic revolution to save the HBCU, and he sold it out for money. I'm gonna go the same thing with the originators of hip hop. You feel me? There's probably a few exceptions, but everybody ain't exempt. Hip hop doesn't become what it become without the silent complicity of its founding fathers.
But what about the ones that never made no money from it? You know,
Stay with me. You about to go gangster, right? I never made no money off you, but I stayed quiet because I thought I would. Do you feel me?
Gotcha.
I thought I would. Sooner or later, I thought the train was coming back to pick me up. Just because it never picked me up doesn't absolve me of responsibility. What's that famous
They
quote?
didn't shut it down.
What's that famous quote? It says, the world is in greater peril, not from the men who do evil, but from the ones who watch it and say nothing. Do you feel me? That's what happened to hip hop. They saw it and said nothing because they thought that check was coming. If we're going to be honest about hip hop history, that has to be said. It got to be dealt with. There was complicity in all points.
How do we now solve all of this? At this point, we got drill music.
You know what the problem is now?
Programmed
We
to
don't
babies.
own the product.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Do you see what I'm? We don't own the product, which takes us to another.
But we got to get our babies to stop. How do we get our young men? We still own the creativity in the minds of our sons. I got 3 sons in here.
We can get them back, but you know what the problem?
Ain't gonna write no
right.
crap.
We can get them back, but it's going to take us as long, if not longer, to get them back as it took them to pollute them. So if you say gangster rap was around 85, right, give or take a few years, 95, 05, 15, it's almost 25. They have 40-year run on conditioning our children with money, materialism, and murder and misogyny. If we want to undo that, it might take us another 40 years to undo that. We can do it. We can do it. But you're going to need some heavy hitters on your team that the children are going to listen to take it back this way. People criticize me for meeting with Sister Suki Hana, right?
Yes.
They say, wait a minute, she got the sex music doc, you Pan-African, they selling the... Look, as you said, Rome wasn't built in a day. I cannot do the religious thing. No offense, well, I'm going to just come in, what you're doing is wrong and sin and stop. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to tune me out. I got to meet them where they are. Build that relationship of influence and slowly let the truth slip in and hope that it leads to a change. If I come to her on some, this shit is wrong, stop acting, I lose her. I lose her. Listen, when I was in the Garvey movement in Philadelphia, you know how we got all the Temple University students? They would come to the Garvey movement and say, what's this red, black, and green? And y'all fighting white people. Y'all hate white people. What's this race first? I love everybody. Don't argue. Just come to the study group. Just come listen. Just watch the Garvey films. And guess what? After about 6 months to a year, they start coming in joining of their own free will. People say, how you get all them to join your organization? They couldn't stand you a year ago. Because beating people over the head with the truth is not the way to get them. You expose them to the truth. Their mind will come to the truth. We are designed by Almighty Supreme Consciousness to gravitate towards the truth. Just give them the truth. They'll get it. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is you got to meet them where they are and then grow them. But you're going to need some heavy hitters on your team. But I'm going to tell you like this. Our children now, the ones from birth we can save. We ain't going to be able to save all the teenagers now because they are too onto that now. All they know is money and materialism. They're not leaving that. They're intoxicated with it. They're not leaving that.
Just a good laugh. This is strictly a good laugh.
I feel you.
You 100% right. So, because in one point, because I would say the truth is Jesus Christ. So, yeah, I guess that's just a, laugh.
So I got a question. I got a question for you. What was the truth before Jesus Christ?
There was never no before Jesus. The scriptures asked you. They said that inside the Old Testament, who did they follow? And it said they followed that cloud in the sky, which was the rock, which was Christ.
Okay. So show me evidence. Cut it out. No. Show me evidence.
Faith
of Jesus Christ.
Faith
in traditional African spiritual writing before Jesus Christ. It don't exist. And our ancestors recorded.
It's the whole Old Testament.
We older than the Old Testament. We before Abraham.
What do you mean?
Abraham is the father of the Jews. He's the father of the Hebrews.
The Bible starts,
Abraham was born
the Bible starts out with Adam, not Abraham.
But Adam, the biblical Adam, is not the real Adam. Where do y'all say in the Bible Adam originated? Where did God put Adam? Where did he originate on the earth?
What do you mean?
When God made Adam the first man, where did he make him? And when did he make him?
In the Garden of Eden?
Where's that?
It's in Africa.
Where?
I don't know. I wouldn't be no.
Okay, but you can see this in the continent.
According to the Bible, yeah, because of the rivers. The rivers that he tells you the rivers that.
Okay, because the official biblical position is that Adam was put in the Tigris Euphrates Riviera in Western Asia in the so-called Middle East.
Yeah, but that was all at the time they were saying all of that was Africa.
Right, but the first man that God created, modern man, he created him in the Congo in Central Africa, nowhere near the Middle East, nowhere near the Tigris Euphrates.
How do you know that? I don't.
Because they have the remains. They have the sciences. They're in the Congo. They got the whole museum, the birth of man.
I would have to
we going. I'm taking a group trip over there.
You let me know. I go.
The birth of man is
that don't mean I would agree. I
would
study.
But that's the artifacts. They got the art. That's the bones.
I would study that.
That's the dated bones.
Yes,
again, I'm not a professor in fossil fuels. So just because a man tells me that, show me a bone and say this is a million years old.
Okay.
I'm not a professor to
I got you. But let me ask you this: what if you go to Congo? Let's say you go to the Congo, the heart of Africa, and you see that the first man God created was created in the Congo.
How would I know that? What proof?
Let's say you get the proof. The proof is there. The proof is there.
I don't know how.
The proof is there. It's there.
Yeah,
you can date skulls.
I'll go.
Archaeologists date trees,
Umar,
skulls,
Bigga,
dinosaurs. They date everything. But stay with me.
Together.
You see enough proof to convince you. Man, this is where man was originated. What does that do for your faith in your Bible that told you?
I don't know. How could you get proof? How? Proof is not something that another man wrote down.
But what I find interesting though is how religionists always need overwhelming proof from outsiders, but y'all have very little concrete proof. Y'all have no evidence of nothing.
And
but we have faith.
Disagree.
We have faith. And faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
But faith in God is understandable. I know why supreme conscience never revealed itself to mankind. Because we would lose our respect for authority. That's why God remains invisible. Right? Familiarity breeds contempt.
But you see the same thing you're saying. But the same thing you're saying is what Jesus did. He lowered himself into the form of a servant and took upon himself no reputation. And being found in the fashion of a man, he became obedient even to the death of the cross.
But if Jesus studied under the ancients in Ethiopia during his childhood,
what proof do you have?
There's proof out there. Then where was he from 7 to 30? Where was he? We do know he went to go hide in Egypt, right? We do know he was there.
Yeah,
so let's just say he hung around.
Yeah, he was in Egypt.
Okay, so what you think he was doing in Egypt? The greatest and highest spiritual civilization that ever existed in the world. You don't think he was studying?
Moses was educated by them too.
Because you do know there's a lot of scripture in the Bible.
Yeah, Moses was educated by the Egyptians
too. For sure.
He grew up Egyptian.
The Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments came directly from the Egyptian spiritual system.
What his system. He turned around and tried
to.
Yeah.
They plagiarized the spiritual system of the time. Jesus brought nothing new. He reintroduced what the ancestors already been giving us. Moses brought nothing
absolutely.
New.
He came to give understanding where we didn't understand.
Because remember, none of them
because we had the scriptures, but no one was understanding.
But remember, at the time they lived, especially Christ, he was not a quote unquote celebrity. Jesus became big after the so-called crucifixion.
There wasn't whole towns.
Very few people knew him.
Towns of people waiting
Very
for
few
him.
people knew Christ. No, that was propaganda through the Bible.
So that's just all right. Yeah.
Very few people knew Jesus.
And we're gonna agree to disagree.
No, we good.
No, this is good. Yeah.
No, all I was saying was, once he found out that the black man came from the Congo and that the Tigris Euphrates River,
we gonna go.
Yeah, go to Congo is right there, bro.
Go with you.
And you can go to the Egyptian museum, the Ethiopian museum.
No paper is gonna.
But your Bible is paper. See the double standard? It's okay for the Bible to be paper and don't have no proof. But I got to pull out rocks, boats.
I guess so. Before you expect me to go against mine.
But
oh, when is the trip? When is the journey home?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
No, but on a serious note, we
for sure. I was in Cameroon this past September at the Bimbi slave fort. And Cameroon is Congo's neighbor. So there's a sister who's a travel agent. I'm communicating with her right now to try to put this package together. She was going to do Cameroon. I'm going to tell her I need Congo in there. Because in speaking with the brothers and sisters from the Congo in Cameroon, they were saying there's some sites that you need to see that the world don't know nothing about. He said, we got some stuff that's going to make you... They told me they have art in the Congo that will rival Kemet. And they got art in the Congo that will rival the 7 wonders of the world. They said but the white man don't show it because, let me ask you a question. Why do you think the world has hidden the fact that man originated in the Congo, not even Ethiopia, but the Congo?
I don't know.
Same reason they hidden the true ethnicity of Christ.
Why?
Because that means we are directly connected to divinity and all
And,
things of
and we're
civilization.
African. Exactly. The Congo is undisputedly a blue, black, purple, nappy-headed people. Do you feel me? So anything you find there, you know this African. You can play with it in Ethiopia and say, what an Arab incursion. You feel me? You can play with it. They a little lighter. How do we know these were black people? In the Congo, it's no discussion. You know you're dealing with black people. And because of that, they have hidden the fact that man originated in the Congo.
Let me ask you, so the Congo, how do we know, again, where the Garden is Eden at? So, because you said because of the rivers.
You got to remember, people have been excavating, archaeologists been excavating for thousands of years. You see what I'm saying? All of the oldest known human fossils in the world.
So you think
in Africa.
The Garden of Eden is something that, according to Scripture, that no man is never going to be able to find.
If there was a Garden of Eden, if there was,
protected by angels, cherubs.
If there was, it had to be in Africa because all original human fossils. Right, but the Bible, or should I say the historiography around the Bible, because I don't know if the Bible says this flat out, that the Garden of Eden was in the Tigris-Euphrates River Valley. That's the Middle East. That ain't Africa. You could say that's Africa's northwest extension. But what we're saying is God put man in the heart. In the very center of the continent is where God put man, not over there with the Arabs.
Let me ask you a question. So this is what makes sense, though. If man was kicked out the garden and he was cast out the garden, where would he been cast out to?
So you saying, okay, man originated in Congo, he got cast out to Western Asia.
No, I'm saying that man originated exactly where the scriptures were said.
Tigris
in
Euphrates?
The Garden of Eden. You won't find no bones in the Garden of Eden because you ain't going to find the Garden of Eden. Because
so now
according
you're
to
trying
scripture,
to justify.
No, I'm just breaking something down, bro. According to scripture, we were put out of the Garden of Eden, never allowed to return. So if you were put out the Garden of Eden, at that point you went off into land. We already know that after Cain killed Abel, Cain had to get banished from his family and everyone else, and he went a certain way. So I would have to now study all of that and see, the bones he talking about, the bones of Cain and his people in the Congo. That would make sense.
But see,
you see what I'm saying?
The challenge I would have to your narrative is you're working backwards. And what I mean to say is, instead of challenging or exploring the possibility that some of what you believe may not be factual, you would rather distort the evidence so that it conforms to your religious beliefs.
No, I will challenge the evidence to see that it dismisses
but if we have the
my
evidence,
beliefs.
Okay.
When you say religious to me, that's why I asked you earlier, so just be clear, it's just a way of life. You know what I'm saying? The way you say it is more of a negative way. So if you're saying religious meaning my way of life, sure, bro. You have a way of life too. He have a way of life and everyone in here. We all have a religion.
I got you.
So to say it to me in a negative, way is not cool. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have a religion.
Got you. Here's the thing. From the revolutionary Pan-Africanist perspective, any institution, and religion is an institution. Any institution that does not fight or prioritize the real life, obvious, measurable, tangible problems of African people is an instrument of oppression and should be discarded. And that means that if you turn your spiritual system into a weapon of Black liberation, I'm cool with it. If we're not going to do that, and we're going to keep on pushing this colorblind, I love everybody, I'm not going to prioritize my own people, then your religion is an instrument of white supremacy.
And this is what I would say to that, and with all respect, and I want you to hear this. You work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Anything that you do is going to be by example. So if you want to be correct yourself. Before you look to take the plaque out someone else's eye, you got to take the ship out your own eye.
Right. But
you know what I'm saying?
I'm not against that. That makes sense. but you're dealing in individualism. The world operates in systems, group systems. White people operate as a culture. Chinese operate as a culture. Our solution cannot be individualist. What are we going to do as a people?
And this
As
is
a people.
But the people is one person.
Okay,
and that
the
is
people
what
together make a person.
Yes, the
Okay,
people is what.
so what are we going to do
the
as a
catch,
people?
and it's not. It's what you're going to do for yourself.
You can't, if you're
It's
going to
you.
individualize
It's
the
you.
struggle,
No,
it's useless.
all right, so check this.
We have to unify.
No, I just want to give you a different
What
way to
about
think.
unity? Black
I just
unity,
want
where
you
does
to
that come in at?
I just want you to give a different way of thinking. The world, do you see the world as a bad place?
No.
Oh, that's good. You know why you don't see the world as a bad place?
Why?
Because somewhere inside you don't see yourself as a bad place.
Okay, but that's different.
It's not.
Yes, it is, because you're not acknowledging the
You
fact
have to. If
that
you
there
want,
are concrete problems.
in order to make outside change,
What about the
you got to
concrete-
make inner change.
What that got to do with miseducation of black children by white people? What that got to do with police genocide of blacks by whites? What that got to do with the gentrification and homelessness crisis we're dealing with right now? When is y'all as religious people going to lend yourself to the everyday problems of the black community?
The everyday problems of the black community is sin.
It's not just sin.
Yes,
we're being
it is.
sinned
'Cause I have
against.
one
Yeah,
question
go ahead.
for the brother.
Yes.
With all of this technology, social media,
Yes, ma'am.
will the revolution be televised? No, this. Why you think I?
Yeah, that's why I stopped. I know the brother got to go, and
I was
you know,
trying
love it.
since
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
5:43.
Yes, sir.
Will
Iron
the
sharpen
revolution
iron.
be televised?
Not if it's going to be successful. It can be televised in the beginning in order to garner the energy and the support and the unity, but strategy has to be confidential. Strategy has to be confidential. And to your point, if we think we're going to organize black people through social media, we're going to lose for two reasons. We don't like each other. If I want you to come to a meeting, I got to get up in your face. I got to see you when you coming home from work. I got to see you at the supermarket. I got to see you when you taking your sons out to dinner. You want to feel me first before you buy into me. You can't feel me on social media. Not the way you could feel me in person. One thing I respect about the Jehovah's Witnesses, have they changed the way they recruit?
They have not. It's still door to door.
Do you feel me? Are they on Facebook doing it? Are they on Instagram or TikTok? Jehovah's Witnesses are still knocking on doors because they know that's the best way to get people. We so lazy that we want to get them through the internet. I know people who will complain because they'll put the flyer on the internet. Nobody came to my meeting. Why should they? You put no effort into getting them. Why should they put any effort to coming into you? You understand me? So social media is not the way to organize. It's okay to publicize. It ain't the way to organize. Any other problem? Do you know that they cleaning out and shutting down all accounts owned by activists and radicals? Do you feel me? People are being kicked off of Twitter, kicked off of Facebook. I can't use my Facebook right now. I ain't been able to use it for months. They didn't even tell me they shut me down. I'm shut down from Facebook. My Twitter, they systematically reducing all my followers. Instagram, they removing followers. Instagram, I get suspended like 6 times a year. They don't let me post the videos. They are not going to let us benefit our struggle from their platforms. You're out of your mind if you think you're using those white platforms to benefit black folks. Everybody I know is under some form of containment on their social media platforms. So no, it will not be televised unless we own the platforms ourselves. It will not be televised.
Gotta say that 3 times.
Go ahead. You got one more. Give me one more. Go ahead.
What are some of the ingredients we need to equip our young brothers with so they can be providers and leaders and protectors of our families?
Before we do that, we have to address the elephant in the African community. And that is the unaddressed trauma of not only our young people, but our adults. Underneath all this black male-female relationship conflict, it's unaddressed trauma.
Yes.
Most relationship problems are not relationship problems. They are individual issues that the two people brought into the relationship.
And they meet.
Yes, sometimes it's not about couples counseling. You know, but sometimes I tell them, y'all don't need couples counseling. This ain't a relationship problem. You got issues with your father. You need individual counseling to deal with your father's abandonment. You got issues with your mother. You need individual relationship counseling to deal with the maternal abuse that you separated from, that you had to deal with. And then once y'all get some closure, then we come back and do some couples counseling. How you going to treat a couple when the individuals ain't been treated themselves? We got trauma on top of trauma in the Black community. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why it doesn't get addressed. Because number one, we've bought into the hypnosis of white capitalism. You know what that is? White capitalism has convinced us to believe that the way you solve your problems, the way you improve your happiness, the way you build peace of mind is to do what? Shop. Are you with me, Queen?
Shop.
Are you with me?
Shop.
And guess what? With all the religion we got, we bought it. Black people who go to church Sunday, who go to the mosque Friday, who go to the temple Saturday, who go to the Kingdom Hall Friday. What they doing right now while we sitting here talking? Shopping. Because the white man has convinced the black man the way you improve your life is not through organizing against racism. It's not through organizing with your people. It's about buying expensive junk that I sell. Get that Benz, you'll feel better. Get that Balenciaga bag, you'll feel better. Get those Jordans, you'll feel better. And guess what? In the moment, you do. Because there's a shopper's mania that accompanies you spending money. You know when you buy something, your mind releases dopamine. You feel good while you shopping. And because you don't want that feeling to go, you spend up all your damn money until you get home. And right after you just went through shopper's mania, you go through buyer's remorse. I already had these shoes. Why did I buy them again? My son didn't even need that video game unit. I bought it last year, didn't even realize it. How did I not remember I already had these shoes? Because you was under a shopper's mania. Until black people undo the hypnosis of American capitalism, we never going to address the trauma. We covering it up. You're not buying because you need or want them things. You know why you bought that? Because you wanted the feeling the commercial said you would get from having it. They selling you happiness. They not selling the Benz. They not selling the gold chain. They not selling the Timbs or the Jordans. They're selling the positive emotion that comes with it. That's number one. Any other problem why we ain't going to address this? I'm going to pick up my man Bigga just a hot minute. We have nowhere in the black community, and you would probably agree with this, we have nowhere in the black community where we can go and talk about our pain and our problems without somebody trying to force their doctrine down our throat. Do you feel me? Think about it. If I was a sexual abuse victim, thank God I wasn't. My father whipped my ass. But guess what? When I became a psychologist and saw all the sexual abuse that goes in our community, I'll take that man's ass whippings every day. You feel me? I'll take his ass whippings every day of the week to the sexual abuse I see these kids go through. So anyway, you feel me? So getting back to my point, when I talk to these young people, you know what they tell me, Dr. Umar, there's nowhere I can go. You just sit down and have a conversation about my life and my problems. If I go to the church, they want to feed me Jesus. If I go to the mosque, they want to feed me Muhammad. I go to the Hebrews, they want to feed me Moses. I go to the Jehovah's Witness Hall, they want to give me their thing. Our people need a safe space where religious indoctrination is not on the table, where they can just process and talk about life. Think about it. If a black woman ain't got no friends and she need to go somewhere to process her pain, name an organization she can go to in the black community to do that, where she's not going to be forced to accept doctrine in order to get delivered from her emotion.
Safe Horizons. There's a few.
Well, you're talking about the mental health company.
Yes, the mental health. Yes.
Separate from that, because they're parasitic too.
Yes, they are.
Because I'm in mental health. You know what they want?
Generated by
Absolutely.
Fundraising.
They want that diagnosis.
Yes.
In a prescription.
So they could build a
Exactly. You went there looking for some help. You got a diagnosis and some damn drugs.
It might get your kids taken.
And so guess what? You went to eliminate a problem. You picked up two more.
Yes.
So again, where can you go as a black woman? Nowhere.
You don't have any.
We ain't got nowhere to go.
You don't have no outlet.
And one of the reasons why I'm building Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey is I want that to be that place. Even though I practice Yoruba culture, I'm not pushing that on nobody. Because see, one of the difference between African spiritual systems and the major world religions, they recruit. We don't. You feel me? I will never come to you with African spirituality. You would have to call me up and say, Dr. Umar, I had this dream last night. And my grandmom came to me and da-da-da-da. You feel me? And then I'm saying, you know what, brother? It might be time for you to get initiated. It might be time for you to get a spiritual reading. Your ancestors are trying to communicate with you. You might not be on your life destiny. These are the people. But you're going to come to me, and then I'm going to tell you what you got to do. You never see us out on these streets proselytizing, telling people you better get saved. We don't do that because in African culture, you get called back. You get called back. You see what I'm saying? But getting back to the point, we need places to heal. Take the Black consciousness community. We just like the religious community. People cover up their trauma with religion all day long. You feel? I know people, they Christ out, ain't never dealt with their fatherlessness, ain't never dealt with the sex abuse, you feel me? Ain't never dealt with the neglect of their grandparents. They know the Bible, they can quote it, they can do, they know the Quran, you feel me? But guess what? They soul still not delivered because they never dealt with their internal trauma. You feel what I'm saying? We do the same thing in Black consciousness. Oh, I'm a Hebrew. I'm Nation of Islam. I'm a Marcus Garvey Pan-Africanist. I'm a socialist. I'm a Nawapian. I'm a God on earth. But guess what? You smoking yourself to sleep at night. You drinking yourself on the weekends. You see what I'm saying? Stop. If there's one message I want to give Black folks from a psychological angle, religion will not erase trauma. Black consciousness will not erase trauma. If you want to get back to happiness, wholeness, and peace of mind, you know what you got to do? You got to face the demons of your past. All of them. The abuse, the neglect, the low self-esteem, the fact that you was a foster kid, the fact that your dad abandoned you, the fact that you was too dark for your grandparents or too light for your cousins. You got to deal with it all. Because until you face the devil, I'm speaking metaphorically and psychologically, until you face your inner demons, all those childhood issues that you never address, you'll never get to heaven. I'm talking about heaven on earth, not after you die. There's a heaven on earth that we can reach. But guess what? The devil is standing in front of the door to heaven. And the devil metaphorically symbolizes all your inner demons that you don't want to address. Why are you overeating? I'm obese. I need to work out. Are you really obese because you don't work out? Or are you eating yourself to death because you don't want to address these issues that you got, that guilt, that abandonment, that shame, that pain, that abuse? You see, when Michelle Obama had that obesity campaign, I called it out. I said, Michelle Obama, she only addressed obesity from a diet and a health perspective.
Correct.
Most Black obese people ain't obese because they're in love with beef ribs and cheese sticks.
Right.
They eat themselves out of their pain because while you are drinking and eating, your brain cannot develop the feeling of anxiety. You don't feel depressed when you're eating. You don't feel anxious when you're eating because eating arrests that process in the brain. Why do you think people love to go down and eat before they talk about their problems? Or if we're about to sign a business deal, what I'm going to say, let me take you to lunch. Because guess what? You're more likely to sign it while you're eating because you're in a peaceful, joyful state.
And we have to, that comes from infancy.
Yes.
Who's a happier baby than a full baby?
Take a baby. While they on the breast, they getting milk. That eating of the drinking of the milk facilitates the bond with the mother.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. But my thing with the Black community from a psychological standpoint, education is my thing, right? So I'm going to build this school. We want to build more schools. And I had Brother Bigga come and talk about his Christianity. No, because even though
It's Christ-like.
we're Christ-like, but here's the thing. Well, Christ speaks through charis, which is an Ethiopian word that talks to the spirit that rises within. So technically, we are all a Christ waiting to be born.
Yes, we are.
Jesus was only one.
We are.
We are all to reach that state.
Yes.
So we have to be
Now
careful.
you're talking different. No. If you would have talked that from the beginning, I would have already broke that down to you.
Well, Harry,
that I would have already broke that down to you that we are the church, and the church is the body of Christ, and that we are all one. I would have already broke that down,
but
bro.
I want to say this. In
Peace,
humility,
bro.
in humility, and we have to admit this, and we have to never do this again. Thank God there were no young people in this room when we went back and forth. Because you know what they would have said? You Christians are full of shit. You Pan-Africanists are full of shit. Y'all supposed to be an alternative to the gangster life. Y'all supposed to be an alternative to the gangster rap. Y'all fighting amongst each other just like the niggas doing on the street. We out. We can't afford to ever do that again.
And
do you see what I'm saying?
But
because it feeds.
Man is always going to have disagreement. That's going to come.
I
You can't be
understand
fake
that.
with it.
But
we
in
got
front
to show
of the
them.
children,
Yeah.
they need to see a united front because we
Absolutely.
are at war
No,
for our young
all right.
people.
So this is what they need to see. They need to see that we could disagree. We could maybe get to that flare, but at the end of it, we have came back to a common ground.
I agree with that.
Of peace.
I
And
agree with that.
believe me,
But even
respect,
beyond that,
they respect
they
that
need to know
fully.
I agree.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
Even
they don't
beyond
like that fake stuff.
Even beyond that, we need to have some shared principles or goals that we can share with them. Because at the end of the day, work got to be done
I
together.
think we did.
Right, maybe. But even if we didn't, we got to have that.
No, I
because
think
when
we
they
did.
come, we got to give them something to do.
I think
if we don't give them something to do, they're going back to the corner. Because guess what? They always got something for them to do in the corner. You notice that?
Yeah.
You will never see a youth go to the corner and not have something to do. It might be robbing, it might be stealing, it might be
looking
selling,
out.
it might be looking out, but you're going to find something to do. But the last point I wanted to make is this: educationally, my goal for the rest of my life is to build these schools I'm building in Wilmington, Delaware. Right? That's my goal. Educate psychologically, heal trauma for blacks. Because the fact that we are not healing our trauma is the single greatest barrier to us achieving something that we both agree on, and that is God consciousness. That Christ state, you don't get there if you don't rectify the internal demons.
Yes.
And we need everybody to understand that religion doesn't heal it. Black consciousness doesn't heal it. African culture by itself doesn't heal it, except spiritual culture, in that you got to face your demons. You know why people come to therapy? Because they ain't got the strength or the resolve to face their demons by themselves. They need somebody to guide them through it. When therapy, all I do is guide you. I'm not your solution. You're going to fix your own problems. But I got to take you back into that place where you're safe enough to talk about that trauma and abuse, because you might have to re-experience it
To
so
heal
you can
it.
assign it another meaning in your life.
Absolutely.
I just want
We have to address trauma, because guess what? Whether it's gangster rap, whether it's the male-female relationship crisis, what other issues we got? Black women on black women problems, brothers with our ego, like what we just went through. All of that has an element of trauma in it. Black people must address their trauma, but because we hate the pain, you know that feeling that comes from when you recall a painful thing in your life, that emotion come back. You hate that shit. You feel me? So what do? You suppress it. I need to smoke. You got a cigarette on you. You ready to roll some weed? Let me get a shit. You see what I'm saying? You try to kill it. Don't kill it. Stay with that damn pain until you change it. Spiritual alchemy. Spiritual alchemy. Take the negative you've been through, reassign it another meaning so it becomes a positive.
Absolutely.
We said something that was the same, and I just don't want to get that off.
Yes, sir.
What you said is interesting, and I'm actually going to go look it up. What did you say about Christ earlier?
Harass. The word Christ comes from an Egyptian word, harass, which means the spirit within that rises. So,
Keep going.
So,
And you said something else, and you said how we are all Christ.
yes, we all Christ, but we have to face our internal contradictions, demons, unaddressed childhood issues, traumas.
Now you see how everything, you see, now, you see,
ain't got
this
nothing to
is
do with
what,
the Bible,
it has everything to do with the Bible. Now,
Honey, we
this
still
is
don't
what,
touch
let me finish. I want to break this down because he doesn't even understand something, and I know you guys do. The scriptures teaches us that the only person that has been empowered to defeat the demons is Christ.
I disagree.
And
unless you're talking about the individual Christ. When you say Christ, are you talking about the Christ of the Bible or the Christ in you?
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Let me finish. How can you get to the Christ in you until you rise to that level? Christ says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus.
Okay.
So that already lets you know that it is on you to raise your mental to a Christ level.
But see,
and
now
the
you're dealing with the
scriptures
Christ
have
concept
already
versus the
told
Christ
you
personality.
That, what do you mean?
The historical Christ as a being is one thing. The Christ within me, that aspect of God that was born into me when I came into this world, that's different. You understand me? That's the personal Christ.
No, so all right. So you think
You
that
can't
it's
have it both
different?
ways.
No.
Can I build
what
the
it is
personal Christ
no,
without?
no,
No, I'm
no,
asking
no.
you a question. Can I build my personal Christ without tapping into the Christ of the Bible? Yes or no?
No.
That's where we disagree.
Yeah,
Because that's the doctrine.
The Christ,
See, that's
no,
the doctrine.
the Christ of the Bible is your recipe in order how to get to that.
But what if I told you there was recipes older than that? What if I told you that with an African tradition, we also have a way of resurrecting in Christ
I
within
would
us
know that,
that does
but the
not
scripture
require
says-
belief of the scripture, though.
But the scripture says that it's deities and all type of stuff
Right,
that is
but-
older than the idea of Christ. Yes, but that don't mean it was correct. Baal is older than the idea of
I ain't
Christ.
talking about-
But we already know Africans believed in Baal, Ra, and all that other stuff. But
Everything in the Bible
wasn't-
came out of African culture.
You know, if
everything in the Bible came
if
out of African
anything,
culture.
those are in order. If
But you're
we
rejecting
understand
in
it's like
dismi-
fallen angels.
Okay, let me put this another way. Will you accept the possibility that there are ways to Christ consciousness that does not require belief in Jesus Christ of the Bible?
Jesus Christ of the Bible that died on the cross for our sins?
Yes.
No, I can't.
And that's where we disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good. Yeah,
But see, that's where religion has its limitations.
Yeah.
Because y'all believe
I just think
your
you don't
way
understand it.
is
I just think I
way.
think you just don't understand it.
No,
Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins, letting you know what you had to do. You have to die on the cross.
No, I understand it.
You just said it. You are the Christ. So that is just an example of what you have to do. You have to deal with your sins, your demons on the Christ level.
Okay.
And that Christ level
Well,
is
listen
what?
to me. Listen to me.
It tells you, the Bible gives
Stay
it
with
to
me.
you.
I'm not dismissing that. I believe that is a pathway to Christ consciousness by following the example of Jesus of the Bible. I believe
But you feel there's
stay with
other
me.
ways.
I know there's other ways. That's all we're saying. See, the African spiritual, we don't dismiss religions. We say if the Islamic way suits you, walk that path. If the Christian way suits you, walk that path. If the Catholic way suits, if the Buddhist way suits you, walk that path. If the Christian way suits you, walk that path. We're simply saying there's other ways that are older and through which way more people have walked and activated their Christ consciousness, because African spirituality is remotely older than Christianity. Like, you can't even compare them in terms of time on the planet. It's no comparison. So all we're saying is there's other ways than that one. Even in the Bible, it says what?
You
In
keep
my
saying
Father's house,
Christianity, but okay.
in my Father's house, there are many mansions. There's many roads to God. Let people choose their own.
It's only one road.
And that's the doctrine. That's what we call doctrine and dogma. And that's what keeps so many black folks from embracing the church, because it's a very narrow-minded thing.
I'm going to change that.
No, but stay with me. It's a very narrow-minded
I'm going
thing.
to change that.
When a 2,000-year-old religion
Bigga's going to change that.
tell a 250,000-year-old people
You'll see.
that you got to do it my way or the highway.
Bigga going to change.
It don't even make no
Bigga's
sense.
going to change that. Bigga about to change the world.
But here's what I want to say.
And I'm going to introduce to the world what they need to understand in the scriptures, the way
From
they
your
need to
view,
understand.
though.
No, not from my view.
No, it's from your
No,
view. It's
not my
still
view.
your
The
bias.
scriptures.
Right, but that's one scripture. That's not the only scripture that exists. And it's not even an ancient one. The Bible is one of the most modern of religious texts.
Why do you say that?
The Bible only 2,000 years old.
Why do you say that?
What do you mean? Why do I say that?
So
The
you
Bible
saying
is
the
2,000
You
years
saying the Dead Sea Scrolls and all of that stuff is only 2,000 years old, or did they find the Dead Sea Scroll maybe 2,000 years old?
But even if you do,
Jesus
even
was
if you-
alive and Jesus was talking about the scriptures. Jesus
was only 2,000
old.
years ago.
Exactly, and he was dealing with the scriptures. So how could it be 2,000 years?
Jesus was dealing with ancient Kemetic spiritual science. That's
and
what
he was dealing with scriptures.
ancient
the
Kemetic,
scriptures.
yeah, the scriptures of ancient Kemet, not your Bible.
Well, how not? Yes,
What are you
it
talking
was.
about? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's
I'm
stuff
not
don't even get
talking about that. I'm talking about Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers,
Are you aware that the
Deuteronomy.
5 books of the Old Testament were not written in that order?
And it
Nor
don't
were
have
they
to
written
be
at the
that
time
order.
ascribed to-
It don't have to be the order.
That ain't the point.
Did they exist? Did those scriptures exist? Did Jesus deal with those
No,
scriptures?
there's a time when them scriptures did not exist.
Did Jesus
There's
deal
a
with
time.
those scriptures? Did he not deal with the scriptures?
All the scriptures that you're referring to, because remember, there's multiple
I'm not
scriptures.
talking about the New Testament.
No.
That
Stay
you
with
would
me.
be considered.
There's multiple
Yeah.
scriptures, not just Christian, not just Old Testament, not just Hebrew scripture, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with the Hebrew
Hebrew
faith,
scripture.
the Abrahamic
and he was
path.
a Hebrew.
Yes. But do you realize the Hebrews have not always been around?
Of course.
Is not Abraham the father of the Hebrews?
Yes, of course. They
Okay.
haven't always
And
been
do you
around.
realize that
And
African civilizations
do
went
you
up and
realize
went down before
according
Abraham
to
was
the
born?
Bible that before them a lot of people was in sin? Again, you had the Canaanites. You had Cain who killed
You're
his brother
trying to
Abel.
say
everybody
before Abraham was a
wasn't-
sinner.
All right, so this is what we all sinners.
The whole world was
Everybody
sinning
is
before
sinners.
Abraham.
Everybody is a sinner.
Bless you, Queen.
I'm
Everybody is a sinner. Everyone. No, we have all fell short of the glory of God. All
Listen
of us,
to me.
every single
My
person.
issue is not
if
your
you
religion.
say that you are not a sinner, the Bible,
Stay
not
with me,
me,
stay with me,
says
stay
you're
with
a
me.
liar.
My issue
And the
is,
truth
stay
is
with
not
me,
in
Bigga.
you.
My issue is not your religion. You know what my issue is? You will not entertain the possibility that there's a way to Christ consciousness without your particular scripture.
No, that's not true.
You just said you got to go through the Bible.
No, I'm saying you don't understand that it's actually whatever you breaking
But you
down
just
to
said
me.
if you don't go through, I asked you. I said, do I
No,
have to go
what
through
you
Jesus
just broke
Christ?
down to
You
me,
said yes.
Yes, and I showed you how it was matched up actually to what you're saying.
No, it's not messed up.
You just don't
Because
see it, bro.
the
You just
Bible,
said that we are all
the
Christ.
Jesus of the Bible.
And you said that we had to fight our demons and go through our
When I
demons to
say
get to the Christ consciousness.
Christ consciousness.
Exactly.
Completely
Christ consciousness have nothing to do. See, where you getting confused with the
religions have
physical
Christ
man.
No, listen
the
to me.
physical man had Christ consciousness.
Brothers.
There's a Christ
Brothers,
consciousness that
brothers,
predates Jesus.
brothers.
There's a Christ
Yes,
consciousness that
the
predates
Old
Jesus.
Testament
I'm
said
not
that
talking about the Old
they
Testament. Older
found
than the
the
Old.
cloud in the sky,
don't
which
know about
was
The
that.
Old
Christ.
Testament
I got
isn't old, first of all.
So
the
Moses,
Old Testament
Moses,
isn't
Moses,
old.
is it old?
African culture predates Moses by millennium.
I don't know about
The
that.
Hebrews are not
I don't
they're
know
not
about that.
as ancient
So you
as the
so you
Kemites.
believe in more than a 6,000-year-old planet and stuff.
Oh
like
my
You know
God.
what
Did
the
he just say, wait,
Kemites-
time out. Wait, I gotta ask him this, Queen. Wait,
Oh,
wait.
gosh,
Yeah.
no.
Did you just say you believe?
I didn't say what I believe.
Okay, you know.
I asked you. I said you believe
I'm asking you,
in
I need
more
clarity.
than civilization,
I need clarity,
human
Bigga.
civilization.
Bigga,
more
I
than
got a
6,000
question.
years.
Are you telling me you still believe in that religious concept?
Show me.
Wait, let
anything-
me ask the
show
question
me
and you
man
answer.
That was older than 6,000 years, or anything that was made over 6,000
I
years.
can show you pyramids in Kemet older than 5,000 years.
Nah,
Bigga, you don't
you
stop.
can't.
I can show you temples
can't.
older than 6,000.
Show it to
Are
me.
you crazy?
Show it to me.
Have
That's
you
why
ever
we
been to
going to
Kemet?
Show it
Africa.
to me, bro. I've looked all
Have
those
you ever seen the
pyramids up.
Sphinx?
I know when those.
Have you ever seen the
Yes.
Sphinx? The Sphinx
It
is older
tells
than
you the dates. It's that
the Sphinx is older than. Oh
The
my!
Sphinx is older than 6,000 years.
Yes!
No, it's not, bro.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not,
Are
bro.
you kidding, brother? I just told you
It's not.
the African is 250,000 years.
That's not
Brother,
true. That's not true.
you reducing us to 6,000?
That's not true.
Let me
And
tell
even
you.
if
Do you
it-
know
all
why
right.
you're doing that?
So let me tell you
Do
something.
you know why you're doing that?
Even if
Because
you,
that would make the Hebrews relevant
even
from
if
an
you,
ancient historical
even if-
perspective. Ain't no Hebrews before 6,000. That's why they limit humanity to 6,000. Brother, there's artifacts that's older than 6,000 years old in Africa.
I gotta see that, and I will have to see what evidence that shows me.
Have you ever
that
heard
it's
of
older than
Denganesh?
6,000 years.
Have you ever heard
No.
of Denganesh? That's the African woman that they excavated in Egypt.
Yeah, I heard of that.
She's in the museum.
You get
in
talking
the
about
Ethiopian
fossil
museum.
fuels again, right?
Fossil fuel. No, we're talking about a skeleton of a
Fossil
human being.
fuels. That's how they're able to tell how
you know
old
how old
the
she is?
skeleton is.
Do you
Through
know how
fossil
old she
fuel.
is? Wait.
Nobody knows.
Dude, what? Bigger
Nobody
said
knows.
there's no civilization before
Nobody
6,000 years.
knows.
Bigger, guess how old the bones of Lucy is?
Because you're dealing with it through
Bigger,
fossil
guess
fuels.
how
Where
old-
did you learn about fossil fuels?
We ain't talking about fossil fuel. That's gas
How
and
do
oil.
you
I'm talking
know?
about this. Bigger.
Brothers.
Queen,
No, I
listen,
just
Queen, I
wanna
gotta
know,
say
how
this,
do you
Queen.
know how old
Queen,
they are?
He ain't
Answer
said
that.
it.
Queen,
Answer.
Queen.
How do you
The
know how
bone-
old
listen,
it is?
You're a black woman, so I want you to hear this because you're a
How
black
do you
woman.
know how old the bones
This
is?
is the oldest, most complete fossil
Lucy.
of a modern black woman.
I'm
Her
aware.
Ethiopian name is Denganesh.
Yes.
White
And
men
how
call
do
her
you determine
Lucy.
how many
Guess how
years?
old her skeleton is, young brother?
How do you determine that?
2 million years
How do you
old. And
determine
he
that?
just said civilization doesn't go beyond 6,000.
Yeah. How do you determine that she's
Brother,
2
come
million
on.
years old?
That is complete.
How do you determine
that's
that
complete.
she is that 2 million years old?
Okay.
Through fossil fuels, through something
No,
that
not
you
through
just
fossil fuels.
Tell
Not
me.
through-
I've
okay.
asked you. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I want you to do
Is
your
it a
research.
certain line on the bone that we could count that, each year it grew that?
It's
What
all of
evidence
that.
are you going to show
This all you got
me?
to do. This all you got to do.
And then where
This
did
all
you
you got to
learn
do.
that evidence from?
It's in the museum, first of all.
Museum of who? Who put that information
Brother,
there?
it's the
Still, you can't tell me to use the white man education is something that you done sat here on the platform
This
and
is African. This
screamed it
African
out,
science.
all that.
This African science. I'm not a white man. What you talking about?
So African science is saying that this body is older than how long? And where did they get that from? How did they determine that?
It's clear to me. You're going to dismiss any factual information.
Yeah, I guess so.
That does not coincide.
That's not factual.
That's so you literally believe.
Because you would know nothing.
You literally believe
there's no factual.
Wait a minute. You literally believe there's no human civilization beyond 6,000 years?
I believe that if God made man before Adam and Eve 6,000 years ago, that wasn't a part of this. That was not a part of this world. That was
I just told you in the Congo.
Again, let me finish. You asking me a important question. That was a world of old that he had already killed off. So when we start off in the Bible, that the making of Adam and Eve is the first man and woman, and that's 6,000 years.
Can we stop?
That's already been proven false.
With
No,
Adam,
I don't think so.
Eve,
Bro.
Kemet,
All right.
Marcus God.
You got the Congolese. You got the Congolese artifacts older than 6,000. Lucy is 2 million. Congolese 6, 8, 10 million. You got South African fossils over 8 million. Every ancient fossil of a modern human they found in Africa is in the millions. He just said 6,000 years old.
What was they doing before 6,000 years?
Do y'all understand what this man is saying?
Yeah, don't.
He's dismissing the African origin of civilization.
As a people was made within 6,000 years. That's what I'm trying to explain.
The pyramids are older than that.
No, it's not.
The Sphinx is older than that. What are you talking about?
The Sphinx is not older than that, bro.
What?
Yeah, it's not older than 6,000 years.
And guess what? Egypt is one of the youngest.
You can look it right up. We could Google.
We can go to Ethiopia.
How old the Sphinx
Ethiopia has pyramids and castles older than 6,000 years old.
And you know what they all did? They ate.
And
in the great words of Harriet Tubman, Mother Harriet, 1849, we are out.
Oh my God.
And these brothers are going to keep going.
No, I got to drive back to Philly. But he just dismissed. He just dismissed the entire ancient world of Africa. Ugandan civilization, Kenyan civilization, Ethiopian civilization, Somali civilization, Congolese civilization. 6,000 years is nothing when you're dealing with African civilization. Lucy, 2 million. How you going to say 6,000?
I can't agree with that.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Go ahead. What? Science has already refuted that. And you won't give it up.
And you think I believe in science over,
Science over the Bible? Yeah, the Bible ain't scientific.
Nah, you think I would never believe in the
Bible ain't scientific?
I'm sorry.
You mentioned earlier that we should all learn to develop a strength in dealing with the situations that, from our past.
Yes.
And
read what that say. Read what that say. How old is the Sphinx?
No.
No. Come on, bro. How old is that say? The Sphinx that he's talking about. How old does it say?
The Sphinx is
the age, bro, is right there. You must be, because you hit something. Right there, bro.
Oh, there we go. Approximately 4,500 years old.
How old is it say?
4,500.
Now, I'm not going to call this man a liar how he did me. How old is it say? All right.
Let me respond to
We
him.
can end everything.
Can I respond to that?
Bro.
Can I respond to that?
It's all great.
Can I respond to that? I'm willing to bet you that's a white man's estimation. And let me tell you why it is a white man's estimation. Because white folks don't want to admit how old ancient Kemet is.
Yeah, I know.
You know why? Because they're not an ancient people. So the older you prove African people are, the more irrelevant you prove white people are.
I got you.
Now, guess what? You just gave me the white man, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got one right here. 12,000 years old.
Yeah,
I got
sure
another one right here.
Something.
25,000 years old.
Where did that come from? You see what I'm saying? It's open for debate. You want to sit here and scream
you can,
like,
I
couldn't just do what I just did, bro. And what I just did clearly is with the whole word thing right there.
No.
It says
You're on
4,500
Wikipedia.
things.
No.
Doesn't matter.
Brother, I can show you that.
It doesn't matter. What that lets you know is a debate.
It's not a debate.
It's a debate, bro.
Okay, listen. You can debate the age of this. We can debate the age of this. I agree with you that you can individually debate the age of something, right? What you're not going to debate is the fact that African civilization is older than 6,000 years old.
Every site you go to
can't
said
debate the fact
4,500
that we
years
have the
old.
the remains of a modern black woman in Ethiopia that's 2 million years old, and the ones in Congo older than that. You're not going to tell me
I don't
that we're
agree with that.
6,000 years old.
I don't
They
agree
do
with
that because that's how old the Hebrews are.
I don't agree with
So
that.
they have to reduce everybody else to that. You know why? Because if they admit civilization is older than 6,000 years old, do you know what that means? And if Adam and Eve is the basis of the religion, that's where God, it all begins from Adam and Eve, right? If you prove they weren't the first man and woman, we got a very big problem with the authenticity of the Bible. You see that?
But have they been
And guess
proven?
what?
Have
They weren't the first.
haven't been
Because
proven.
mankind didn't originate in the Tigris Euphrates
It had
River
not
Valley.
been proven.
You know what we know? There's been 6 stages of modern man. 6. Proven. 6.
We don't
and guess
know
where,
that.
no, we do know. We do know.
Because he was
and guess
kicked
where they all
out.
come from?
Remember, he was kicked out
Africa.
of where he was originated from,
Africa. Bro.
So now you got to go to the scripture and see when Adam was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. The Bible tells you approximately how far they got kicked out. All that stuff is there. Then look
What
when
they got to
Cain
do with your
killed
6,000 years, though?
Then look when Cain killed Abel and see where he was kicked out.
What they got to do with your 6,000 years?
I'm trying to show you it's all going to come with some 6,000
And the Cain
years.
killing Abel, that was stolen.
You're not going to
that
find
was stolen
nothing.
from Heru versus
You're not going
Seth.
to find nothing.
And the virgin
that's
birth was
beyond
also
6,000
stolen
years.
from Asaru.
The pharaohs, the pharaohs we talk about, all that stuff we talk about is within
Every one of the
6,000
main
years.
biblical concepts were stolen
All
from
those
African
pharaohs we
concepts.
talk about, Imhotep, all of them, all
Christ-
that is within
Christ don't
6,000
belong to
years.
Christianity.
So what I try to
Christ
say, tell me one significant
Let's close it out, Bigga, so
before
we can
6,000 years.
I can hit this road.
Yeah, definitely. We are. I think we.
Let me do a quick text
Oh,
to
yeah.
my mom aide.
Or between revolutionaries and Christ-like followers.
Revolution or religion?
Revolution
Choose your side.
or religion.
Revolution
They all
or
did one
religion?
thing
Ain't no
in
side. We both
common.
on the same side.
No, we
They
ain't.
Yeah, we
Now
both
in those
on the same
6,000
side.
years, you ain't dismissing my
we
ancestors'
both on the same
contributions to
side,
human
bro.
history.
We both on the same side.
Do you know we were smelting iron?
Love, positivity.
Africans were smelting iron before 6,000 years. We were making weapons before 6,000 years. Pyramid building began before 6,000 years. Brother, please, please.
But we just looked it up and it said 4,500 years.
And
Brother, you was on
Hey.
Wikipedia. There wasn't no scientific
All right.
text with no
And
evidence
what
and
was
carbon
you on?
dating.
What was you on? That's what I'm saying. It's obviously a debate. You can't present
This is
to
what I
the
want you
world
to
like
do.
this ain't a debate, bro.
It's not a debate.
It
It's not a
is.
debate. It's only a
It
debate
is,
for those who
bro.
refuse to accept the truth.
It is. I guess it's not only me. I guess it's Wikipedia
I want you
and
to
a
read
whole
some
lot
Have
of
you ever
other
heard of Dr.
people in the
Ben?
world.
Have you ever heard
I
of
guess
Dr.
there's a
Ben?
whole
Bigga,
lot of people
Bigga.
educated that.
Have you ever heard of Dr. Ben?
Of course I know.
You know Dr. Ben Yusuf. You need to read his books then.
Mhm.
Because he was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew, a descendant of original black Hebrews.
Mhm.
Please read Africa, Mother of Western Religions. Africa, Mother of Civilization.
I'ma tell
We
you-
the Black Jews.
I'ma
It
tell-
dismantled all his
I'ma
whole
tell you
thing.
something
Read
about
Dr. Ben. It's over.
Dr. Ben is
Have you
my
read
uncle.
Read Dr. Ben.
Dr. Ben is my uncle. Okay?
If Dr. Ben is your, where you get all this then? Where you
That
get
don't
6,000
mean-
years?
That don't mean that I'm going to side up with him. But Dr. Ben
Close
is
it
my
out.
uncle.
In closure, this has been fantastic.
Absolutely.
We appreciate your life force and your energy.
I enjoyed myself.
always.
Thank you, Queen.
I am looking forward to the grand opening and also the trip to the Congo so we can see some of this history.
Older than
artifacts.
6,000.
I cannot wait.
Or maybe not.
Much older than
be
6,000.
Or
there.
maybe not.
Oh my
We will
God,
be there.
6,000. Come on, bro.
And we outie 5,000.
Peace and
Peace. We
pan out.
love y'all.
Yeah.